What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. It is the day before Fed Wednesday. A lot to talk about. Let's dive into the box scores for today and what to expect heading into the Fed. Today we had the S&P 500. It finished up 0.46%. Nasdaq QQQ finished up 0.11%. The IWM small caps, they finished up 0.86%. The dogs of the Dow were up 0.15%, and the ARK Innovation ETF finished down 0.52%. Pretty much all of these indices closed right towards the middle end of their range, except the small caps, which closed towards the upper end of the range, so that is a good thing. The volatility got crushed everywhere except for the Dow Jones, and to be honest, this is not really what I want to see. I don't want to see volatility getting crushed, yet all of these indices barely even moving. Our breadth was mixed at best, and my trend model actually flipped from a -3 to a -1, so that is an incremental positive. And within my process, when we flip from -3 to -1, I can use that to get a little bit more long of the market and try some test trades. But it's really all going to come down to Fed Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Our hourly countdown is on. As of this recording, we have about 19 hours until Fed Wednesday, when our fates are going to be decided. We already know the Federal Reserve is going to hike interest rates by 50 basis points. That much is priced into the Fed funds rate and the Fed fund futures. And the Federal Reserve, they never really go against what's already being priced in. So 50 basis points it is. The key is what they're going to say about future rate hikes, the rhetoric in terms of how hawkish or dovish they are, as well as what they're going to do with regard to the balance sheet roll-off. And I snapped a snapshot of this. This is the latest and greatest from, I believe this was the Wall Street Journal. And you can see minutes of their March gathering also signaled the committee will likely agree to start shrinking their $9 trillion balance sheet in May, quickly moving to a maximum runoff pace of $95 billion a month. So the market already knows, hey, they're going to say something about this balance sheet roll-off. It really just depends how the market reacts. And we know the market participants have been getting long hedges of the market. Everyone's fearful. Retail investors are scared. And so I think that leaves a fertile ground where we could potentially have a nice bounce if we don't get any scares. Like, let's say this comes in a little bit light, we could have a pretty violent bounce heading out of Fed Wednesday. Take a look at our Finvis Heat Map. Pretty much mixed action. Our energy names by far performed the best today. And you'll see that within our sector map, the XLE ETF, it is now in our number 2 momentum slot. And what else performed very well? The solar stocks, they were up 3.25%, which is great. And then other than that, very mixed action. A lot of these really aggressive risk on areas of the market that had nice bounces yesterday finished down today, such as the ARK Innovation ETF. Yesterday, this thing was up about 6.5%. Today, it's down 0.5%. Not really that big of a deal. What else did we have? Our MSOS ETF, blockchain assets were down 0.07%. So yeah, ahead of Fed Wednesday, one thing that I said was like, hey, I don't want to actively trade throughout this session, because this is where really it comes down to, are you a trader? Are you a punter / gambler? And the day before a Fed meeting, there's really no edge to be had in the market. Look at this. We had our cyclicals. They were up 1.47%, which is good. And we had international value up 1.2% for our style factors. The other thing I'll say as well is, heading into the Fed meeting like the day before, there's no institutions that are like, all right, now's the time where we're going to allocate our entire portfolios and make our big decisions. They've likely already done that. And if they have any big decisions that need to be made, they're likely to push that until after they get the information from the Fed meeting. So if you're actively trading today or even tomorrow morning before the Fed announcement, there's not a whole lot of edge. And I would say you're better off really just conserving your mental energy. And that's really what I did today. In terms of earnings, we had AMD after the bell. We also had Airbnb. And let's take a look at how these did. And we'll also take a look at these headline indices. So let's jump over to our charts. Let's see what Airbnb is doing. These travel names really took a big hit today. Expedia reported earnings, and the whole group fell off a cliff. Airbnb throughout the session dropped from about $154, closed around 145. Then after reporting earnings, now it is back up at 153. So basically it's as if today never happened. So not really all that much of a change. Let's take a look at AMD. Wow, AMD's having a solid performance here. This is awesome. Look at this. Yeah, this is fantastic. One of the guys in our group is trading this. So that is great. I'm happy to see this having a really nice move. So let's take, yeah, AMD, it's up at $97.70. They beat on their sales and their earnings. They also raised their guidance. So this is definitely a good sign to see that, hey, at least these semiconductors names, when they're reporting good results, they are getting rewarded. Let's check out our Semiconductors ETF. Yeah, and it looks like this could potentially be carving out a bottom. If the market is strong following Fed Wednesday, we'll likely see this reclaim the 20-day simple moving average. And if you wanted to add some exposure to the semis, that could be a good opportunity to go ahead and do that. But overall, in the grand scheme, like most of the charts in the market, we are pretty much in a downtrend. This actually looks very similar to the chart of the S&P 500. Let's look at what these indices are doing into the Fed meeting. We had that big bearish candle right here. And then over the last 2 days, we really have not done all that much. We had this undercut 2 sessions ago. And now today, nice little green candle, and the after hours were up 0.13%. Take a look. We're not even inside of our monthly value areas. That's noteworthy. We're still out here in no man's land. We're also getting pretty close to this downward trend line. If we do get a bounce out of the Fed meeting, we're likely to push beyond it. So we could get a pretty violent squeeze if Powell doesn't upset the apple cart with some crazy hawkish rhetoric. As always, we're gonna have to see it. It's gonna be a wild card. Let me put it that way. It's certainly not something I would want to be making an all-in bet on, or like, all right, let me get in 100% options and like bet on an outcome. I don't want to do that. My trend model flipped incrementally more positive, flipped from -3 to -1. I'm seeing these dark pool buyers. They are still accumulating, and we know that everyone in the market is positioned pretty bearishly. Trading the S&P 500, if you're looking at this tomorrow, some good levels to watch. We're trading right up against our weekly value area low of 4182.25. If we are able to successfully hold inside of this weekly value area tomorrow, this could trigger a bullish 80% rule, which would trigger a move to 42.57. So definitely watch out for those levels. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq, in a very similar situation, we are attempting to carve out a bottom here. Russell 2000, our small caps, they were a relative outperformer today. It really does look like these are all trying. They're all making their attempt, and it really just looks like everyone is hanging on till Fed Wednesday. Take a look at the dogs of the Dow, very similar pattern. Let's take a look at my trades for the day. I had a very wild day of trading. No, the only thing that I traded was this box. So actually, one thing that I wanted to trade, I actually set a limit order. This Mattel, definitely still worth watching. I had a trigger level which was right above the prior high. This was a classic power earnings gap setup, and I saw this thing hit 25.12. That would be a very logical entry. I was kind of watching it, didn't want to get too aggressive. I said, hey, let me see how it looks into the close. Once it started climbing up a little bit more, like when it was at maybe like 25.25, I set a limit order at 25.12. That limit did not hit, and the stock just kept going. So this one, out of everything I'm seeing in the market, this is as good a candidate as any for a nice mover and a potential leader of this market if we do end up getting a bounce. That being said, I didn't want to chase it once it moved beyond my entry. I did end up taking an entry in box. This was one of our Pristine Capital weekend watch list names, and I'll pull up our trading view chart. So every weekend I put this together for Pristine Capital clients and take a look. I include the description of the company, what they do. It's a cloud content management platform. And look at this, we're in this downward trend channel, and I noticed, hey, we're on the verge of breaking out of this thing. We're also holding above this 20-day simple moving average. So yeah, took an entry in box. My stop out point is 29.74 as per this trading plan, but that is all I did today. Other than entering those common shares, I wanted to make sure that I didn't get over positioned heading into the Fed meeting or anything like that, because again, this is a big time wild card. Some other names that are looking pretty good heading into tomorrow's session. For the most part, the names that regained their uptrends today were these material stocks and these energy stocks. Arch, this one looks pretty fantastic. It's emerging from this monthly value area, looking pretty solid. And then we have one more here, the solar stocks. These were the best performer today, but take a look, it's not really like it's in a very strong trend. We did, however, reclaim this bottom of value. So again, another area of the market to watch if you are looking to potentially add some exposure at any point tomorrow. With that being said, a lot of unknowns. Today was a pretty mild day for me. I wanted to conserve the energy because I know that tomorrow could indeed be a marathon. With that being said, that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening.